Hey, it's Scot Bertram, and I've got a challenge for you today. Become a better educated American citizen. And to help you do just that, we at Hillsdale College have our free online courses available for all who wish to learn. Our challenge? Take just one of our courses. There are so many to choose from. You can discover the beauty of the Bible and the Genesis story, study the writings of C.S. Lewis, or explore the true meaning of America in Constitution 101. We have dozens more to choose from, and all these self-paced free courses feature Hillsdale faculty and scholars, many you've heard on this podcast. So visit hillsdale.edu/course, COURSE, and pick one of the more than 30 free Hillsdale courses. I hope you'll accept my challenge. Pick whichever course you like and become a more educated citizen today. Go to hillsdale.edu/course, COURSE. That's hillsdale.edu/course.
Welcome to the Hillsdale College K-12 Classical Education Podcast, bringing you insight into classical education and its unique emphasis on human virtue and moral character, responsible citizenship, content-rich curricula, and teacher-led classrooms. Now your host, Scot Bertram.
Thanks for listening. The Hillsdale College K-12 Classical Education Podcast is part of the Hillsdale College Podcast Network. More episodes at podcast.hillsdale.edu or wherever you find your audio. You also can find more information on topics and ideas discussed on this show at our website, k12.hillsdale.edu. Each year, Hillsdale College presents the Henry Salvatori Prize for Excellence in Teaching to honor an outstanding K-12 educational program. Endowed by the late Henry Salvatori, this competition is open to all public and private schools whose teaching reflects the best traditions of Western education. Applications are reviewed by a panel of judges who select a winner based on the school's academic program, teaching of virtue, and preparation for citizenship. St. John's Classical Academy in Fleming Island, Florida, was a finalist this year. We're joined by Matt Johnson, headmaster, interviewed by Dr. Kathleen O'Toole, assistant provost for K-12 education at Hillsdale College.
Well, I'm joined this morning by Matt Johnson, headmaster at St. John's Classical Academy. Matt, thanks for joining me today.
I'm so glad to be here, Dr. O'Toole.
Matt, I am really interested to talk with you about school leadership. You have been at St. John's for a number of years now, but before that, you had an interesting career. Tell me a little bit about your path to school leadership.
Best way to describe it is that I joined the Florida Army National Guard, and while I was in college and my first years of teaching, I was a traditional guardsman for 11 years. That took me through college, 6 years of teaching, my master's in educational leadership. I served 1 year as a dean of students. And then I went on active duty with the Army National Guard for 21 years. And during that time, I had just a wealth of leadership experience in duties such as company commands, battalion command, where I took a signal battalion to Iraq and back to the United States. And also as a post commander of an Army training base. I retired in 2018 at the rank of colonel and could look back and just with gratitude on a great military career of 32 years. And so coming into education early, serving that time on active duty, it was natural for me to go back into education. I had a love for education, and I went back to the classroom for a couple of years and then was called over, asked if I would consider being headmaster. Now, St. John's Classical Academy was not new to me. While I was still in uniform, I served on the board of directors to help start the school in its very first year. And so I was very familiar, and how I was approached was by Diane Hutchings, our founding president. All she had to do was say, "Hey, Matt, I heard about you, that you may have an interest in education. We're starting a school affiliated with Hillsdale College." And I said, "Stop. Whatever it is, I'm on board." because I know we need education reform, and I believe in what Hillsdale College does. And so that's what brought me here. Been a headmaster for 3 years. This is my fourth year, and it's so meaningful.
That's a beautiful story. So talk to me about this transition from being in the military in a leadership role, a commander, to your day-to-day life now, where you're surrounded by several hundred tiny people. What has that been like?
Well, first of all, the similarity between the two organizations is that we have a mission statement. And our mission here at St. John's Classical Academy is so important. I am constantly reminding everyone. In fact, our first PD, professional development this year, is I led a PD on Dr. Copeland's Tried and True, Chapter 1, Know the Mission Statement. And we had such deep conversation with the faculty about the importance of the mission statement. Just like in the military, you cannot perform a military operation without a clear mission statement. And so I feel that my job here is very similar as when I was an Army officer in keeping the organization on point, on the mission at all times.
What's it like being around all of these young people after leading adults for so many years?
Well, it's interesting. I look back to my first years of teaching, and I'm just going to say it. I'm actually embarrassed about a lot of things that I didn't know as a young teacher. After those first few years of teaching, and I raised 3 children of my own, and then went back to the classroom, it's more of a parenting role than even a leadership role. The scholars we have on campus, I treat them as if they were my own children with the same respect, every single one. I truly love each one of them. And so it's this experience I had as an early teacher in the military, raising 3 kids. I just have a love for children, a true love and know what they need. They do need discipline and correction. But I know that each one of them has so much potential.
What advice do you have for people in the military who are thinking about a career in education, either as a teacher or a leader, after their service is over?
I would say we need you, because it is such a natural transition from that environment. Sure, there are going to be some things to adjust. I agree. I was working with adults in a lot of ways, many times adult men. And so I come onto a campus and I have almost all ladies. And so I do, there's a little bit of an adjustment. My wife helps me with that a lot. But I would advise anybody in uniform to make that transition, because we come from similar organizations, again, where we have a mission. We have organization, we have leadership, a chain of command. But a lot of the soldiers I knew and served with, they have a true heart of service to our nation. And I feel that what I'm doing is a continuation of that same service. Steve Lambert, one of our headmasters out west, he and I have had conversations about that. We both feel that, he's a retired Air Force officer. We feel that we are continuing that oath we took to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And what better way than transitioning from the United States military to a Hillsdale school where we are reforming American education.
Yeah, that's just great. It's a funny thing thinking of, these tough military guys being around all of these little kids. But it's a beautiful combination when you have the right person in the role, because you're exactly right. It's leadership, it's chain of command. And one thing that I think we sometimes forget about school leadership is it's not only about getting the work done, it's also about serving as an example for all of the teachers and all of the students, of course, and the community at large. And there's something about military leadership, I think, that prepares you for that.
Yes, we have the military ethos that are so true. We live in the military by virtue. And so when I transferred here, those virtues easily transferred over because it is an organization where everything rises and falls on leadership, and leadership has to be exhibiting virtuous behavior at all times in the military. And it's so true for school leadership as well.
So tell me about how the school has changed as it's gotten established. The founding of the school was not that long ago. It's come a long way in a short period of time. Tell me what it was like there at the very beginning.
Well, I can tell you, I speak a lot about charter schools to the community, and we all know that there's nothing easy about starting a charter school. And now things have gotten easier, and I would like to get to that because that is a success story in itself. But at the time we started this, it was around a dinner table with Diane Hutchings, Amy Miller, the three of us as board members. How are we going to do this? We were putting it together almost on the fly, with the help of Hillsdale. But this was in 2016 when we were working on this. These charter schools were fairly new. And that first year we held it at a church. We used their Sunday school space that first year while we built the buildings on our current property. And that helped us financially. It really gave us a boost financially and set us on the way to where we have always been financially sound at St. John's Classical Academy. But that first year was tricky. You're transitioning classrooms every Wednesday and Friday for the church, and then back again. But we made it through it. In some ways, it made our initial staff stronger. The faculty and staff knew how to work together as a team to get things done. And so we had two startups that first year and the second year on the new campus. And we did have some leadership challenges the first few years. I was glad to come on board, and I feel that I did provide some leadership. And of course, we always have hiccups. We are the best place we've ever been now. We have such a stable faculty and staff at this time. It's the most stable we've ever been. We hardly had a transition this year with new faculty, but that's just natural. But Dr. O'Toole, I'd like to brag on Hillsdale and the guidance that we've received from them over the years and the network of leadership that's out there to support us. We've come a long way with the charter management organizations, the education support partners, and right now our model, I believe, at St. John's Classical Academy with two campuses is very strong because we have a good board of directors who allows the headmasters to run the schools. We report to the board, and we have this education support partner out there in Cora who works for the board as well and supports the headmasters. It's just really a beautiful support system that's out there. And a lot of it's done by the conversations that we've had at the leadership conferences at Hillsdale, talking to other schools. Hey, what's your relationship with your board? What's your relationship with your support organization? And so I just really appreciate you, Dr. O'Toole, and your team. I believe we're at a better place where it's not as difficult to start these new charter schools. We now have a support system in place.
Well, thank you. That's kind. It is still difficult. I think there's no way to make it easy. And although it is getting easier, the foundation of a school is a group of people who don't already know each other coming together to do the most important thing together. And that is always going to be rocky, and there are going to be bumps in the road, and it will take time. But I think you're right. If the mission is at the forefront and people are willing to run the marathon that it takes to get something like one of these classical schools started, it can be a very good thing. Tell me about your focuses for this year. So you all are feeling pretty established now. What does your role look like as you anticipate this school year coming up?
I'm really excited about this school year. Our focus this year is really on our upper school. Our grammar school is doing well. It is. And upper school, we're more stable, but we still have some work to do, mainly on the school culture. And I'm just being honest. We have some improvements that we can do on school culture. I plan on taking some trips to some other schools, such as Atlanta Classical, and taking a look at their upper school culture. We made some changes this year with leadership. We made some changes on our focus of what we want upper school to look like. We don't want it to look like a military academy. We want it to look like wonder and joy in the hallways, in the classrooms, in the cafeteria, and the relationships that are built with our scholars and teachers. And we're off to a great start. We already see such a difference this year. And again, I'm thankful for some schools who are ahead of us. We're only in our third year of a full high school. We've graduated 2 classes. And so that's what's important about this Hillsdale network. We have schools who have gone before us, and they have laid the path for us to follow. And I really appreciate their help when I reach out to them on advice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. When I was running one of these schools, my favorite thing that Hillsdale did was bring us all together and put us in a room to talk to each other about how to run a startup classical school. And I remember sitting around that table with however many headmasters it was at the time, not very many, and thinking, there's a sense in which these people are the most important people in my life because they're the only ones who are doing this job that I'm doing right now. And since those times, this network has just grown, and the friendship between the schools is a really valuable thing and a really fun thing for me and all of us at Hillsdale to see. Glad you're able to make some visits and see what others are up to.
Yes, and I cannot overstate how valuable the leadership conference is, and then the summer conferences. We get so much done. The headmasters, I believe, even in the hallways, just casual conversations. How are you doing this? Or I've got this idea. I always take away something from every one of those trips to Hillsdale and come back to Florida and implement it in my school.
Well, we are very proud of you, Matt, and very proud of all of the work that you and the team at St. John's Classical Academy are doing. Thank you, and best wishes for another wonderful year.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Dr. Kathleen O'Toole, Assistant Provost for K-12 Education at Hillsdale College, and Matt Johnson, Headmaster at St. John's Classical Academy in Fleming Island, Florida. I'm Scot Bertram. We invite you to like us on Facebook. Search for Hillsdale College K-12 Classical Education. You also can follow us on Instagram at Hillsdale_K12. Hillsdale_K12 on Instagram. Thank you for listening to the Hillsdale College K-12 Classical Education Podcast, part of the Hillsdale College Podcast Network. More episodes at podcast.hillsdale.edu or wherever you find your audio.